buried in Midian.
Ain't nothing but dead folk.
Somewhere, hidden from sight, closer than you might think, is a place that's not on any map. Midian.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Cha, 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 cha. If you know, you know. I'm obsessed.
And if you don't know, you're like me. So there you go. This is the podcast That Wouldn't Die. Each week we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genre.
The horror and vice. What podcast did I fall into?
That's exactly. It's a true crime podcast. Horror and sci-fi classics. Good times with a comedic twist. We hope. This week we're discussing the horror classic Nightbreed, directed by Clive Barker, starring Craig Sheffer and David Cronenberg. Anybody else that you can think of in this one?
Not a goddamn person. I've already.
The dude from Hill Street Blues. What's his name?
Yes,
Renko from
Renko.
Plinko.
I can't remember.
Plinko.
I used to love Hill Street Blues. We saw another movie with every now and then because I was so obsessed with Hill Street Blues back in the day because it was so good.
Yep.
Every now and then we watch these old movies. I'm like, hey, that's that dude. That's that dude. Yeah.
Renko was in Altered States last time we saw it, if you remember.
He was so good in Hill Street Blues. He was amazing.
See, these are shows that were on when I was very young. And therefore, I was not tuning into the evening dramas of St. Elsewhere, Hill Street Blues. I'm trying to think what else. What else were the popular?
You know, I didn't have a TV in high school and for part of college, so there's huge gaps in that era of pop culture.
Well, here's the thing. So now that I brought it up, you know how I'm like having a stroke. How St. Elsewhere ends. Do you know the ending of that? It's like an M. Night Shyamalan
isn't it like
deal.
a snow globe and a ball?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. The entire series was the rantings and ravings with a snow globe of an autistic child, a nonverbal autistic child. It was on for 10 years. The entire series.
For 10 fucking years. And on top of that, wasn't there a John Cusack movie where it's the same thing, but it's in the mind of a madman instead of the hotel?
Oh, yes. That's, spoiler alert, that's Identity is what you're talking with Ray Liotta as well, if I remember.
Oh my
correctly.
God. Where it was the greatest first half of the movie. And then when you realize the shit they're shoveling you say, no, thank you, sir. And then you spit it out. It was like amazing. Then all of a sudden you realize what's happening. You're like, motherfucker.
Well, it's always, it's like Lost. It's like M. Night Shyamalan, where it's like the buildup. You're like, man, I can't imagine where this is going. How are they going to wrap it up? And then they wrap it up in the lousiest way possible.
Like Seinfeld. They wrap it up and flush it down the toilet.
Right.
The greatest of all time was Newhart, where he just wakes up and he's with his wife from his previous TV show, and it was all a dream. That was iconic.
That was dynamite. Because he was the Bob Newhart show in the 70s. And then in the 80s, a different show just called Newhart. But you're right. The season or series finale revealed that whole show. Oh, that was good. It was
a dream.
It was all a dream, and he was still the character from the original show.
Nobody knows who the fuck this is, but Bob Newhart's one of those guys. He's always Bob Newhart. So it's almost like when he had the separate show, you're like, did he divorce Suzanne Plachette? And this is his more bimbo-y wife? Because that's what it looked like.
Oh, she was not more bimbo-y.
Suzanne Plachette had a razor edge that would cut you to pieces.
That is true.
This one had bouncy hair and was kind of a dum-dum.
Well, what was it? He was a TV psychologist on the original show.
He was a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I think he was a psychologist.
Like that. And then on Newhart, why are we even talking about this? He ran an inn in Vermont.
Because was he retired and decided to run an inn because that became like a thing in the 80s. Like after you made your first bazillion on Wall Street, you're going to leave New York City for the quiet of Vermont. It's a fish out of water story. Like these New Yorkers move in and there's all these oddball characters from the town.
Speaking of oddball characters, now that we're just going off on all sorts of tangents, I was telling you, for some reason, this weekend, I went on a deep dive on Netflix of Airport 1975, and Airport 77.
Yeah, I was drunk as a lord when you were texting me, and I didn't have my glasses on. I just saw... I forgot the name that triggered. I'm like, what's happening?
Okay, well, to cut to the chase. The first movie is Dean Martin and Burt Lancaster. By the way, Burt Lancaster's character's name is Bakersfeld. I'm like, is that even a name? Sounds good.
It's Bakersfield, of course.
Of course it is. And they're dealing with shit. Their big problem is like the runway's too icy to land. The plane's going to crash. By the second movie, there's like a midair collision and somehow the plane's still flying. Third one, the plane is sinking to the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, we're all over the map.
In your mouth.
It's
the Bermuda Triangle?
Yes.
Were there anal probings later on?
Who's to say? That's the extended edition, the TV cut. But the names I told you in the second one, it's Charlton Heston, it's Karen Black.
Love Karen Black.
You've got Helen Reddy playing a nun who sings "There's Only One River," like an original Helen Reddy tune, as you might imagine. Linda Blair is in it because she's got to get to LA for a kidney transplant. It's an emergency kidney transplant. All sorts of stuff. Norman Fell was there. Jerry Stiller.
Oh, that's it. Norman Fell. Fantastic.
Yep, absolutely. Sid Caesar's in this one. Myrna Loy. They were Norma Desmond. Not Norma Desmond.
Gloria Swanson.
Gloria Swanson is in it playing herself.
Dude.
Playing herself. It is crazy.
Watch this. I'm gonna have to watch this.
It's not good, but it is just crazy enough to be enjoyable. So there you go.
Okay, good on time. The Poseidon Adventure scale, better or worse?
Oh, these are far worse.
Oh, dear.
Poseidon Adventure.
There's got to be a morning after.
Absolutely. Those were like huge, like films, right? These are like declining. They kept digging up old. The third one, it's like Jack Lemmon, who's just like, hey, and Jimmy Stewart, who must have been 95 years old.
Lord,
in this one.
Poor Jimmy.
Yes. Brenda Vaccaro is in this. Yes, it's an all.
Play tax tampons ads as she talk like this.
Pretty much. Anyway, Aaron, we're like 9 minutes into the show. Give us your 30-second synopsis. Did we even say what the movie is? Yes, we did. Yes. 30-second synopsis of Nightbreed, for God's sakes.
As I often say, if we front load it with too much nonsense, it means that we're not looking forward to what's coming next.
Wah, wah.
Nightbreed. Lord. There's a trailer park, not full of meth though, strangely enough. And I think
there's no trailer park in this.
I'm getting it confused with another movie.
Last Starfighter. They can't all be trailer
park.
You
know what? I'm looking at Blank Check. I don't even know what's happening.
God help us all. There's not a trailer park in Blank Check either, but that's neither here nor there.
Perhaps I'm not as prepared as I thought I was. All right. People are getting killed. A young dude who looks like a fake Dylan Walsh or whatever from 90210 is seeing a psychiatrist who later ends up being the Earthworm Man to stop these horrible dreams. And I don't know, there's a bunch of rejects from a Star Wars film at the bar. There's octopus people. There is porcupine ladies. It's literally Clive Barker was like cruising the alleys of Hollywood collecting costumes and just threw a bunch of mishmash together and said, here are a bunch of people who may or may not be dead, living underground in a cemetery, and we're gonna blame the maybe dead, maybe not dead, maybe they're dead, but you can still kill them, for a series of murders that are in fact done by the psychiatrist. Hijinks ensues. The good guys win. How's that? Question mark? Question mark? Dot dot dot.
Let me start by saying Dylan Walsh is not from 90210. By the way.
What's he from?
Nip Tuck, I think, is the show.
Oh God, you're right. Who was I thinking
Congo.
of?
Congo.
Oh
You're
God.
Dylan McKay, played by
Luke Perry. It was a fake Luke Perry. It was a fake Luke Perry, not Dylan Walsh. He is the opposite of masculine.
Dylan, if you're listening, no offense.
He's emasculated.
Sweet.
No
Jesus.
offense, Dylan Walsh. That's just the vibe you give.
We should also mention we were on another podcast, the Horror Returns podcast, where we deep dived this movie and Graveyard Shift. But as I've often said, we leave no meat on the bone. If you make us watch a horror movie for your show, we're going to bring it home. And
then we're going to take any useful information that you give us, and we will present it as our own. Ba-boom-ba.
We try to have new jokes, though. If that means anything.
Did you say nude jokes? What was that?
Absolutely. Nude jokes. Sweet Jesus.
No.
Okay, Aaron.
And God forbid, everyone always ends up loving these films. What's happening? What's wrong with America?
I know a lot of people who love this movie. When was the first time you saw it? Was it for the last podcast?
When I was forced to watch it for the last one, and I really only thought it was one movie. And they're like, Aaron, did you already watch Nightbreed? And I was like, oh, were we supposed to watch that? And then my nose was rubbed into it. There's literally a Back the Night character. Like, there's a Half Moon dude. I don't know. Is that scary? I don't think so.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
I mean, is he bringing me tiny tacos? Because then I might welcome him. But
there
mostly
are no tiny tacos at McDonald's, by the way.
Our heroes are quasi-rapey and beyond creepy. There's like two normal undead people, and then everybody else is clearly disgusting. Have some serious personality issues and are rapey.
We definitely need to talk about this more. Let me say that about this time, this early 80s, I don't believe I saw it in the theater. But if I'm not mistaken, I definitely saw it like at friends' houses. Like you go spend the night, have a sleepover. We're watching whatever's on the movie channel or HBO or whatever. Does the movie channel still exist, by the way?
TMC? I don't think so. The movie channel.
The movie channel.
In case you didn't know what it was. Home box office and the movie channel. I think the home HBO killed it.
Maybe. Anyway, so I'd seen it multiple times. But what we discovered researching this is there's multiple versions of this movie. There's the theatrical version that some of us saw.
Oh, it's just like Blade Runner, huh?
Yes, that's exactly correct. Well, basically, it was that thing where the studio got involved and did their cut and removed Clive from the editing process, and he was unsatisfied. But much like the Snyder cut of Justice League, eventually the lost footage came back into Clive's possession. He got a little extra scratch, and he recut it to make the director's cut. And I have to say, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's not like one is markedly better than the other, in my opinion.
I think the Aaron cut would have ended up with like a 20-minute short.
The Aaron cut would have been you leave the video store empty-handed. Am I right?
You can get some jujubes or a pack of Slim Jims on the way out, some Lucky Strikes. But yeah,
you don't sell all that in the video store. Some Lucky Strikes. What is happening? Some Cools.
I gotta get some Mountain Dew. I get a pack of Cools and I don't know some Red Vines. There you go.
And
that's you got a party.
Now that I'm sitting here thinking about this, I believe there was a time where you could go to a liquor store / gas station and rent videos. Am I crazy? Am I hallucinating?
I mean, even now, does Redbox
still exists? Yeah, so that's a thing. So I guess it's all real.
They're in front of liquor stores, gas stations, bombs, whatever.
Brothels. Whatever.
Or whorehouses, gambling dens, and dispensaries.
That's great. Houses of horrors. Shall we jump right in to the highlights? Aaron, what you got?
Oh, sweet. Well, I've already explained that there's a Jack in the Box character. How come Jack in the Box didn't sue? That's all I want to know.
McDonald's, not Jack in the Box.
Oh, is it? Oh my, I'm
It's
way off.
Mac Tonight. It's Mac Tonight. It's sung to the tune of Mac the Knife, the famous old standard. Is that Gershwin?
I guess that makes more sense considering Jack in the Box is a clown.
He's a goddamn Jack in the Box. Well, this is a dude who has a moon, a crescent moon for a head. And there is a Nightbreed homie who also has a moon-shaped head, a crescent. Why?
Angular, and the rest of his body's totally normal. He didn't seem too rapey, although I don't know with his giant. How
do you eat? I mean, there's like this weird thing. Anyway, this is neither here nor there. I'm very confused about the mythology of the Nightbreed, because you're right. Our main character seems kind of incelish, where he's just kind of dissatisfied, like he's Holden Caulfield or something, where he's like, oh man, life's got me down. And so he kind of seeks out the Nightbreed, right? Because he wants
Clive Barker.
The whole just like Clive Barker.
Bondage and S&M didn't work out. I need something more intense. What? You're out of puzzle boxes? Where's the lair of Mac? Mac Tonight.
Of Mac Tonight. So that's the thing. He was not already a Nightbreed. He becomes a Nightbreed when the homie Peliquin with the dreadlocks, not dreadlocks, bites him, and then he's shot to death, and then he returns from the grave.
Wait. His name is Pelican?
Pelican. No, Peliquin. Like
that's Harley not Quinn. A thing. It's like Harley Quinn, but more like Pelican.
I can only read the names on the call sheet. Okay,
dude, Clive Barker was phoning this shit in. He was on an island in Fiji, tied up in restraints and on the dictaphone. A leather bikini.
Absolutely.
Dictating to his half-naked secretary the ramblings, because this is full on, let's just phone this shit in. I got some Halloween costumes in my garage. Let's get it going.
Well, because I agree. They suggest that the Nightbreed are a race of creatures. A race like the forgotten tribe of Blees Blahs, right? There's the normies, and then there's a race of these freaks.
It's a contagious race. So if someone like from Japan bit me, I would then become Japanese? Is that how it works?
So they say on certain websites.
I ate one of those soccer players that crashed in the Andes, would he then become American? Or how much am I allowed to eat of them?
If you ate somebody, they'd become feces. I don't think.
But what if I just tasted them a little bit?
Just nibble-de-dibble. Well, that's what Peliquin did. Oh God, we're all over the map. It's hard to know what's going on, truly. So the answer is we don't know how this all works out. Why are they the Nightbreed?
It's a contagious race of people.
Right, because I mean,
but is it a race if you're just dead? Is it just a group of dead people who are not dead?
Do you have to die to finish your metamorphosis into becoming a Nightbreed? Did they all die first? Were they all normal ass people who got bit by somebody like a werewolf, and then they died, and then they snapped out of it, but now they're weird freaks? I don't know.
And are werewolves a race of people?
These are all important questions. We may
Is
never
a
know
people?
The
I don't know the answer to this.
It's upsetting. Truly. We don't know.
What if HR Puffin stuff bit me?
Would you become... Now, HR was kind of a dinosaur dude. Am I correct? He had like a dinosaur tail.
He was like a dinosaur dragon-y thing with little tiny feet and an enormous Sid and Barty Croft head.
Yeah. Too big, some would argue. Too big.
Some would, and they would be correct.
The theme of this movie, some have argued that it's basically like, don't judge a book by its cover. The freaks beneath the cemetery are actually peaceful and nice. And
no, they're not. They're rapey and disgusting.
I agree. But we're supposed to ignore that. We're supposed to ignore that because the humans are really the real monsters, the normal humans.
I guess, it is correct. So I guess you have to choose your violence. So the humans are trying to shoot and blow everybody up. The people down below, I assume, smell real bad or rapey. So pick your poison. What if I just
Well,
drop a bomb on this whole town? It thinks like it just needs to be scrub free.
right.
Put
Well,
some
that's
bleach, some simple green, some
Simple Green.
Drano, flush
So
it
you've got-
all.
Some Simple Green will definitely do the work. Well, okay. We're
Isn't
jumping
there
all
an
over the place.
Amway product that could handle this situation?
to deal with animal.
Can we bring the Scientologist in to do some auditing?
Please do. But I mean, okay, so you have weird freaks, but then you have that dude who's just a bald guy with a with a little terrier dog in his arms, and he has tattoos on his chest. Is he a member of the Nightbreed? Is he a mascot? What is his job? Is he the gimp?
You have like a Moses dude.
Yes.
You have a lady with aluminum foil in her hair, which I was going to put in my hair when we were on the other podcast, but
She's
I
getting
forgot.
Getting a perm.
Who has a baby who I couldn't tell had furry mutton chops or just veiny. I couldn't tell.
Or both.
Everybody else is like some community theater put together costume. Where it was like when you go to those weddings where the bride says to their bridesmaids, I don't care what you wear as long as it's pink. I think everybody must have been in charge of their own costumes. And there's two people who clearly were on a Star Trek episode and just had stolen their costumes and showed up. Everything else was paper mache and rubber cement, and they got it all at the Halloween or the party store.
I think that's ridiculous. That's absolutely there.
That's my theory, and I'm putting it on the dark web.
Some of the creatures that you meet along the way are hideous monsters. They are like one dude just looked like he was a garbage bag full of just viscera. Like here's this weird blob thing. Hi, how you doing? Terrifying.
Oh, I recognized him. He was the creature from The Thing.
He was absolutely the creature. There was one dude that I described as being like a plucked chicken, but with the head on the stomach area for some reason.
Is that the guy with the tentacles with the grabbers?
No, that was a different upsetting character who has holes in his stomach and weird like eyeball tentacles come out, and he kind of like waves them at people. It's upsetting.
This is why I'm so angry about this film, as we have seen all the Hellraisers where they've created these unique and bizarre and creepy, and it didn't make any goddamn sense either, but they were it was like a story, and it made sense, and it was unified. And this is like a high school production trying to copy Clive Barker.
Here's my thing about this. Not my favorite, but this is a Hollywood production. This isn't some filmed on my iPhone shit. I mean, come on, Aaron.
Clive, I know you're in the Dominican Republic with your multitude of lovers, but
in shackles.
Here's a 50 grand. Can you whip something up? Can you whip something up for us?
He'll definitely.
It doesn't have to be. No, not whip it out. Whip it up. It doesn't have to be that good as long as we can put your name right on there.
Interesting.
Doesn't need to be as good as John Carpenter's Space Vampires, but so if you could aim a little lower.
Let's go back and discuss this plot. So the dude's name, the main guy's name is Boone. He's unsatisfied, even though he's got. Oh, I love the relationship with his crazy girlfriend, who every night she's out singing at the club. And when I heard the song, I just had to keep singing it because it was so ridiculous.
Sing it. Give us a few bars.
Johnny get angry, Johnny get mad. And then she goes, I need a brave man, I need a caveman. And there's a scene where...
It sounds like they need Pauly Shore is what they need.
They did. Boone walks into the back of the club going through something. He's having a fever dream. He's spazzing out in some way. And here's the music and then just shrugs his shoulders and he's just like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go find Midian where the monsters live rather than spend one more fucking second in this room.
That
out.
sounds about right. Run, you motherfucker. It literally gives off direct-to-video vibes.
So,
how can you deny that? I mean, honestly. Full Moon Entertainment gave us plenty of direct-to-video classics. This doesn't even rank.
This is not Doll Man versus Demonic Toys.
Subspecies.
Okay? This is look. This granted it was filmed in Canada, not in Bulgaria. Okay, so it's not.
It lost some of its flavor. Toronto doesn't have the same sting as former third bloc countries. I'm having the mini stroke
Soviet
now.
bloc, Eastern bloc, yes.
Whatever.
So anyway, Boone goes to his therapist because of all the bad feelings he's having. And somehow the therapist convinces him that he's a serial killer. And then it smash cuts to this family, this Canadian family's watching TV or something. And a dude wearing a crazy like sock puppet mask with like button eyes.
He's an earthworm.
Okay. And with a straight razor and murders them. So, and like again,
that seems like it would be difficult because first of all, the dude is a little stringy, and a straight razor. You got a whole family. No one can pick up a lamp and throw that. Pick up a side table. You just take turns laying there while he saws through your neck. I mean, what the?
That's the other thing about this. He rolls in there wearing literally the 3-piece suit and overcoat he wore to work. And starts murdering people. You'd be sprayed with arterial blood in 5 freaking seconds. And this happens multiple times where he's like puts on a mask, murders somebody, pulls the mask off, and he's just standing there where the cops are walking by going, oh, I don't know what happened. Very strange.
Wearing the same suit. He is the original Teflon Don. Apparently he hit, what was that spray you used to get for your furniture so it all beads off? Maybe he got some of that.
A Scotch Guard.
Scotch Guard.
Scotch Guard.
That sounds slightly offensive.
It's offensive to people of Scotland, no question. Absolutely. Whoa.
Things just beat off of them.
The blood just splatters. So he convinces him that he's this killer. And then he gets into a car. The Boone gets hit by a car because he realized later, or the audience realizes, that the doctor's been prescribing hallucinogens to him to make him flip out. Right? So this was like a long
So he knows that and continues his path.
Because he does say, like, oh, I've been taking this as lithium, for my bipolar. It's like, this is a serious... You're basically shoving shrooms in your mouth. You're taking hardcore LSD. You're on PCP right now. So you're on angel dust. So it's hard to know.
You never hear about angel dust anymore. Seems to be out of vogue. It's out of vogue. It's animal tranquilizer. Don't you know any veterinarians you can ask about that?
Hydrochloroquine. It's like whatever you need at this stage of the game.
What happened to roofies? Are those gone too?
They're still out there. Not as much fun as they used to be, I imagine.
Well, maybe for the rapey people who live down below who are either dead or not dead or possibly semi-dead.
What do they say? Why do they call it roofies? They should call them flories. Good times. These are jokes, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy. I don't juggle. So yes, and I have to say, this was a long con. Do you not have any other patients, psychiatrist? It was always this plan to pin your psychotic episodes on this homie. And then was your plan
just to not watch a movie about this?
What was
it? Wasn't there another movie we watched recently where it was this something similar? Oh no, I'm getting... Shut your mouth, because we watched this 6 weeks ago. I think I may be confusing it with, was it Section 9?
Session 9. Right. So he gets hit by a car because he's wandering the streets. Don't do that. And in the hospital, This is like Calgary, Hope or whatever. And he meets a
Not
dude.
St. Elsewhere.
He was at St. Elsewhere. Absolutely.
It was his bad mind.
There was a kid with a snow globe in the corner. It's Canada. He coincidentally, Canada's a large country, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a geographer, but it's a large place. So it's a good thing he went to this hospital where there's a dude pounding on the window on the inside, pounding on the outside window going, I got to get to Midian. Why can't I get to... Bro, did you, commit yourself? Can you just walk out the door and take a cab? What's the issue? Why can't you get yourself to Midian?
Can you get a triptych from AAA?
Something? Get a Thomas guide?
Get the Thomas guide out and just type in Midian.
Absolutely. So he's flipping out. Craig Sheffer Boone walks up to him because he hears the word Midian, which for some reason he knows about. Did they establish why Boone knows anything about this?
Stop looking for rhyme or reason.
So he goes to the dude and is like, hey, I heard you say Midian. And he somehow convinces the dude that he's the messenger, the harbinger from Midian, come to take him there. He's like, well, hey, where is this place? Because Midian is the home of the monsters, basically, right? That's the idea behind this. So that's where it all starts. He gets the directions from the homie, and that's when he gets to Midian, which is a freaking graveyard.
It's a graveyard. And why do we want to... What is the sweet freedom that they're going to find in Midian? Was that ever explained?
It's something...
It's not the exquisite pain, is it?
One can hope not. It's kind of like in The Matrix, where Neo just senses something's not quite right before he ever, discovers what the Matrix is. Something's just not right. And I think they're trying to say something like that. Now, is it an allegory for homosexuality? Perhaps, right?
I'm assuming anything by Clive Barker is an allegory of homosexuality, bondage, dominance, S&M, all of the above.
Whatever floats your boat, okay? But I think it's basically...
Like, I don't know that he's gay, but women are not allowed at this resort.
It's Club Tropicana. That's song by Wham. Club Tropicana, drinks are free. So that's the thing. So he gets there and he's immediately attacked by Peliquin and Mac the Knife. And Peliquin's like, I'm going to eat this dude. I'm eating him. So these are the good guys. Again, it's not, don't judge a book by its cover. The dude's like, I'm going to eat you. That's not something a good guy does, I would argue.
Well, and that's what they told him. That's not what a good guy... So then they just don't eat at all? I'm Googling Peliquin.
Do you doubt the name of the character? That's the one name I remember because it was so ridiculous.
Yeah, it only comes up Peliquin Nightbreed. I was wondering if it actually meant something.
No, means nothing. What is the name of the female lead of this movie? That's the question we should be asking because I don't remember.
Oh, Peliquin is a name of people. It is actually a real surname, though. Isn't that weird?
Like Dave.
Most
Peliquin? Commonly
occurring in Brazil.
Peliquin.
Peliquin.
In Brazil, it'd be pronounced Peliquin.
I'm looking at
French
Google
Canada.
Images, and none of them have tentacles on their heads. So maybe I haven't just dived deep enough.
Don't dive deep. Do not. Whenever it comes to Clive Barker, much like the Necronomicon, do not dive deep. Leave that wrapped in barbed wire in the basement with the cats.
But I always read my books out loud. Should I not read the Necronomicon out loud?
When it's written in crayon, don't read. Don't read. What else you got? Anything?
I have something written down here. And aluminum foil air.
Remember the
hair.
Yes,
hair.
It's all come together.
That's it. She has strips of aluminum foil, not even done tightly around her hair. So that was not as interesting as I thought it would be. But what we didn't talk about,
please. That sounds like a good lead-in. Well, we didn't talk about. Jeez.
What a
Pick your
mess
time.
this is. No time for hoochie coochie. Why did I write that? How about that? And
Well,
at the end, it reminded me of the January 6th militia when they were all getting their American on, fighting against the semi-dead.
see, they have gun issues in Canada as well. I want the world to
do.
know. Well, okay, number one, Narcisse was the homie he met in the hospital who cuts his face off. He's constantly being kind of inappropriate with Boone's girlfriend. Like, Boone has to go and chase the killer, but he has to go back because Narcisse is like laying on top of his girlfriend. I only wanted to kiss her. What do you mean? Would you stop date raping my girlfriend? Very
Well, and the
upsetting.
weirdest part is before Narcisse died, and why would he have such a French name when he was anyway. He was clearly just jibber-jabbing and rambling when he was alive. And then he's like, oh, they need to see your face. So he tries to cut his face off, but all he does is do a circle. And then that wasn't even a thing.
Right. His face stays on, but basically all the rest of his head is skinned. Oh, and I guess
There's like a 2-inch strip going around.
He's kind of, I mean, he didn't die from his wounds. So I guess he is kind of a Nightbreed, right?
I guess he is a Nightbreed. And then the minute he's in the underground bunker, he starts talking like a British member of the House of Lords, and then
yes,
still slips into the rapey thing every now and then. Like they're not sure which way to go with this.
I think the actor was British.
For sure.
Therefore was just doing his best with his quasi-American Canadian accent.
So when you would just be like, hey, Narcisse, do you know where the microwave is? I have a craving for some microwave hot dogs, especially when the ends explode and get hard and cooked. And he'd be like, la, 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 la. And then 2 minutes later, you just try to pass him in the hallway and he's trying to stick his tongue down your throat or he's dancing with half a skeleton.
I see where I eventually found out where you were going with that analogy. I was like sitting there and I imagine our audience was as well going, what in the hell is she talking
assume
about?
all the Nightbreeds microwave their hot dogs till the ends explode.
I mean, is that a Nightbreed thing? I mean, I've done that on occasion.
Occasion?
Well, and he knew where Midian was. Narcisse did. Although
how, why?
No explanation. But once he was there, because he acted like I'm waiting for somebody to take me there, essentially. But he gets there on his own. But there's never a moment where they're like, who the hell are you? Why are you here?
Well, the best part is everyone in town knows where it is. So why doesn't he know where it is?
It's on the map.
Everyone knows it's the cemetery. So instead of getting yourself locked up in the madhouse and cutting your face off, why don't you take the number 10 bus out of town and swing on by?
It's just outside of town near Sheerness, Canada, which is a real place, I think. I don't know. Who's to say? Who knows what's going on?
Not I said the fly.
So he gets shot by the police because they think he's a serial killer, but he's already been bitten by Pelican. So now he comes back, he snaps out of it. Basically, he's like, "Oh, I'm fine." But every now and again, he gets kind of a scary, scarred monster face that pops out in moments of stress. But then he can kind of do an inhale, and then his face kind of snaps back to normal.
I guess I missed that. Is that before or after the thumb knives in the mental ward? Or did they just hand those out when you check in?
That was Narcisse. He just had them. They were on like his thumbs, and he'd kind of do a little carving, I guess. I don't know where one would get those. As one
does at a state hospital.
Well, you're just free to walk around. I think it's just...
Isn't that the end of Cuckoo's Nest?
It is with Chief. Yeah. No, I don't think Narcisse was. I don't think that was a psycho ward. I think that was just a hospital because Boone was there after getting struck by a car because he was wandering into traffic.
Then why was his roommate clearly psychotic and just loose as a goose in a paper gown?
No explanation. Was he in a paper? I don't think he was in a paper gown.
He is in my
This story's
retelling.
getting worse and worse.
He
Sweet
is in
Jesus.
my story.
They talk about how some of the Nightbreed can be killed by sunlight, some can be killed by fire, some can be killed by bullets. But in the thrilling conclusion, it seems like pretty much everybody can be killed by bullets, right? They're dropping like freaking flies.
So are they undead? Are they like the shitty X-Men, or what is this? They're not
the shitty
X-Men.
X-Men.
It's more like Q-Men or something. Question mark men. What the hell are these
QAnon
things?
is what it is.
It's QAnon. If QAnon had a superhero, this would be it. Well, then my
correct.
January 6th comment. It all comes full circle.
So Ranko is the sheriff of Sheerneck, and he's like, you know what? Let's round up a posse and go into Midian. For what reason? Why were they after? Why were they going there in the first place? Do you remember?
I don't think they know about the undead. That's what I'm confused. Do they know they're fighting the undead, or quasi-dead, or semi-dead, or weirdos? Is it just really a homeless encampment? Because that's what it looks like.
It could be. Well, I think, okay, so they think Boone is a serial killer, and he, even though they shot him to death, hopped off the slab, fled back to Midian.
And so are they just looking for him? And then are they surprised that the freaks are crawling out of the world's largest mausoleum?
Oh, yes. Catacombs. Well, they go there, a small group of them go there to get Boone, and all they do is find the weird shirtless gentleman with the chihuahua and drag him into the sunlight, where he promptly turns to dust and explodes.
So he's a vampire?
So they're like, oh, damn, I guess there are monsters here. Let's round up. Again, there is a police force here in town, but for some reason, I don't know if they hung up flyers, but every hillbilly in the county shows up loaded to bear.
It was 100% the stereotypical Southern corrupt. You've made me angry, so we're gonna lock you in the cell and beat the shit out of you. It's very, very, very now, isn't it?
But this is Canada. They don't do these things in Canada.
Or they just have better control over their people, so they don't.
Is that what it is? It's entirely possible.
Canada has got a shitload of serial killers, so somebody's doing something.
That's true. That's true. We didn't talk about this. The main character's
serial killers in Canada.
We should talk about that more. That's our next podcast. Only serial killers in Canada is what we're going to call it. The main character's name is Aaron Boone. Ironically, that is also the name of the manager of the New York Yankees. Coincidence? I don't know.
You have much knowledge. I didn't even know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, that almost amazed me as much as when in Commando and Road Warrior, the antagonist of those movies, his name, the actor's name, is Vernon Wells, who at the time was also an outfielder for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So, coincidence? Probably.
So, they're sitting back in Australia with Mel Gibson and his crazy father coming up with names for the Road Warrior. They're like,
why not?
Hey, my favorite outfield.
That's correct.
Just keep rolling. Keep rolling.
Just keep rolling. When they were passing out weapons to the cops, and I guess to the hillbillies, here's like machine gun for you, here's a shotgun for you. One point, the dude pulls out a Garrett wire, and he's like, we can kill him with this too. Here's a Garrett wire, and he like licks the wire. This is the cop. These are the cops that are doing this. It was just so bizarre. No one bats an eye. I batted an eye. Good grief.
I think it's a Garrot, by the way. Like leaf carrot?
Ah! That's correct. Garrot. Sweet Jesus.
Oh my God. There's just so much. The little undead child just keeps getting lost and getting saved. So they decided that the shitty girlfriend was A-okay. I'm like, listen, baby, I may love you. I'm not living in Rateville in the swampy underground. fuck off. You're going our lives. This is where our lives kind of divert. If you love something, set it free.
Set it free to the fire. Is that what you're suggesting?
Apparently into the hellhole. I was not gonna Harry Carry myself. This isn't fucking Twilight, man.
So what? Oh yes, basically a crazy sloth child crawls out into the sun for God knows what reason and is sitting there kind of quivering. But the girlfriend, I think her name was Annie, if I'm not remembering this correctly.
This will come out tomorrow. Did she remind them that?
And she sees the sizzling island of Dr. Moreau laying on the ground in front of her. And there's Rachel, the friendly Nightbreed with the aluminum in her hair, who could turn to like smoke every now and again. She's like, "Rescue my daughter, please bring me my daughter. She's cooking." I don't know what accent I'm doing. So she grabs the
Nightbreed accent, clearly.
It was grabs the mutant child, gives it to the mom. And the child quickly like snaps out of it, and now she's just a normal little girl, I guess, without the mutton chops.
That's a loose term for normal. Loose as a goose, you might say.
Well, so, as I said, many people's appearance was quite offensive. There were a few that were just kind of, I guess we're just kind of normal. We're just normal looking. I have a dog. You've got a crazy mutant child. We're okay. Right?
You have a vagina. I'm a rapist. I understand.
It all works. Sweet Jesus. At the end of the movie, I'm just cutting to the chat. Somehow they bring a priest along with them for some reason, who's of course appalled by the senseless slaughter. Because they're not arresting anybody. They're just mowing people down, throwing grenades, flamethrowers, napalm, bodies flying everywhere.
It was John Carter all over again.
It was absolutely John Carter. He's appalled, and he goes down to the catacombs and somehow gets splashed with like holy lava on the face or something. Do you remember? It was like, I can't even describe it. And it changes his appearance, so he looks all crazy.
He looked like Cricket from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia by the end.
That's exactly what they were going for. But now he hates the Nightbreed for turning him into a freak, even though I think he splashed himself with the lava. So I don't know how this works. No explanation.
Yeah, he was a wackadoo. It's a town of freaks, and he was just the stupidest of the freaks.
That's correct.
One of us.
He was. And then, okay, we didn't even talk about David Cronenberg, the famous Canadian horror film director, plays the therapist / serial killer who's constantly involved in this. He tried to frame Boone for his crimes, but then later he gets in kind of a sword fight with Boone. He's already
not that kind of sword fight.
Anything goes in Midian, evidently. We'd already established he stabbed Boone through the heart earlier in the movie to no effect. So I don't know what his plan was at this stage of the game. Suicide? I mean, what are we doing? Nobody knows.
So that was David Cronenberg. I know you said that, but it never sunk in. I'm very surprised because I've seen him in a bunch of stuff now that you say that.
Mm-hmm. He's acted from time to time. He's not like an actor.
No, he's not accepting any Lifetime Achievement Awards for his acting.
No, he's not.
But he was wearing some groovy, iconic 80s gear with some fine shoulder pads. Mm-hmm. Much younger than I thought, but that is funny. I hope he cast Clive Barker into something.
Right, turnabout's fair play after all, right?
Yeah.
Well, I recognized him because I had seen him in Jason X, otherwise known as Jason Goes to Space. So good time. If it's filmed in Canada,
please tell me they put a crazy cage and they just wanted to drop him into outer space. Please tell me that is the premise of the show. What is Jason doing in space?
Okay, here's what happens.
And was Michael Myers in the same box?
Maybe. Who's to say? So Jason, it takes place in like 20 years in the future. They've captured him. They're about to put him in a cryogenic freeze. because that's the only, they don't know what else to do with him because he's evaded all other types of putting him down for good. At the last minute, of course, he escapes, hacks up everybody. The girl, like the warden or whatever she is, prison guard, she manages to shove him into the cryo right before his machete comes through the glass and stabs her. She's like, ah, so she's about to die. Then they both go into the deep freeze. Hundreds of years later, Earth is a dead planet. Humans who now live on another planet, Earth 2 or whatever, come to Earth 1 as like a science field trip just to see what's up. And they discover these ruins and find Jason Voorhees, cryo box or whatever, and bring it onto their ship, thaw him out, and then the shit goes down.
It's basically Alien is what you're telling me, except it's Jason.
That's exactly correct. Guilty as charged. Any last thoughts before we move on with our lives?
I will never think about this movie again. And Clive Barker's dead, I think, so I can't complain to him directly.
I mean, you could. He's not dead. Is he dead?
I don't know. I just made that up. I assumed.
That sounds like you're making it up. No, he's still with us, I think. He's not.
What is he, like 95?
He's absolutely not 95. Shall we go behind the scenes?
You go behind the scenes with Pella Quinn while I look up Clive Barker.
Okay. Although promised a cleaned up version of the extended VHS work print dubbed the Cabal Cut in July 2014, fans were delighted when Scream Factory announced that the original film was found, restored at 4K, and recut under Clive Barker's supervision, ending a 24-year-long plea for the director's cut to be released in 2014. So
he is not dead. He is 70 years old, and he doesn't look at all like I thought. Although I think I don't know, like bald. I thought he'd look like every guy I ever saw in Berlin, like skinny, like Moby. I just assumed he'd look like Moby, with maybe some leather.
Interesting.
And where is Moby? No one has mentioned him in 10 years.
I wasn't planning on mentioning him today, frankly.
You got to slip it in the conversation.
I guess. The character played by David Cronenberg is named Philip K. Decker, a reference to sci-fi author Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
Deckard was the last name of the protagonist in Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which was later
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Let's see. David Cronenberg wrote the script for Naked Lunch 1991 in his spare time when he wasn't acting in this. So there you go.
All right.
Let's see. When the director's cut was released in 2014, Doug Bradley re-recorded his dialogue as Lalsberg, restoring his voice after being dubbed in the theatrical release. So they redubbed the original actor for some reason.
Wait, which actor?
Why. Doug Bradley, who plays the Moses type guy, Lalsberg.
What the hell? They had to redub him? That's insane. With all the freaky business going on, they're like, oh, dude, we just can't with that voice.
Well, the original theatrical cut, they redubbed him with an anonymous German actor to give him a crazy German accent.
Das ist nicht gut.
That's it. In the Bible, Midian was the land in which Moses lived for 40 years in self-imposed exile.
Well, that makes sense since you have a character that looks exactly like Moses.
Absolutely. It was in Midian that God appeared to Moses as the burning bush, telling him to go back to Egypt to free the Israelites. So there you go.
I was going to make some comment about somebody's bushes burning, but really there were no women in
this
movie.
Bush was burning. There we go. Let's see. Sweet Jesus. 20th Century Fox drastically cut this film at the last minute prior to its theatrical release, omitting
Not enough,
omitting most of the more graphic violence and completely deleting rock singer Suzi Quatro's role from the final print.
What? Suzi Quatro was in this?
Yep.
Oh, this is like the Muppet Show. They're throwing everybody at this, and it still sunk.
Moreover, the movie was misleadingly advertised as just another standard slasher feature. Boom.
I don't know if that's misadvertising.
Let's see.
People did die, and they were freaky.
Narcisse is named after Clarvius Narcisse, the only documented Haitian zombie in history.
Serpent in the Rainbow, baby.
Good times. The role of Onaka, which was the the dude with the dog, let's just call him that.
All right.
Was first intended for singer Mark Almond. And he was contracted to play the part, but his management strongly advised against the role given the nature of the film.
Yeah, it's probably that. Now that's some good advice.
You know
that
who
is
Mark
some
Almond
good
is?
advice. Singer
of Soft Cell, Tainted
Oh,
Love.
he is tiny like a pixie. And Sex Dwarf, don't forget that.
I would rather forget that. Sweet Jesus.
Where is Mark Almond these days? Wasn't he supposed to appear in the Cruel World we were going to go to last year, and then he dropped off the bill?
It's a sad situation. Who can say?
All right.
Let's see.
You know how else the lead singer from REM would probably be a good substitute.
Michael Stipe. Annie Bobby sang Johnny Get Angry live on stage, which explains the audience's reaction. Rutger Hauer and Christopher Lambert were both considered for the role of Boone before Craig Sheffer got the part.
That's bullshit.
That's always
every time they say considered, it was a couple guys. Well, what about this guy? They considered it, but Rutger Hauer and Michael Lambert never considered it.
No, they took a hard pass.
They're like, can you imagine? Oh my God.
Let's talk about the cast and crew, shall we?
Let's.
Clive Barker was the writer-director. It was also based upon his short story Cabal. Clive Barker, looking at his picture, he kind of looks like that British comedian who dresses in drag. What is his name?
You're out of your fucking mind.
He looks.
I know exactly. I can see his face, but at least this picture I see does not look like that.
What is his name?
Oh my God! What is his name?
God damn it! Anyway,
I'm gonna type in British actor, but I don't think he's in drag. British comedian. I think he's fluid.
He is fluid, but at the time it was originally. Anyway, he wrote. Hellraiser directed, writer-director Nightbreed. He wrote the original story for Candyman, all sorts of stuff. You obviously know Clive Barker.
Eddie Izzard.
Eddie Izzard. Absolutely. That's the picture I'm looking at.
And by the way, if you just type in British comedian fluid, that's the first thing that pops up.
Boom. Aaron Boone was played by Craig Sheffer. You know him from such things as A River Runs Through It, Fire in the Sky, Some Kind of Wonderful.
I think I saw Fire in the Sky. I never saw Some Kind of Wonderful.
The Program.
No.
Yeah, there was a period of time between like 87 and 93 where he was popping up in things, where he was kind of like almost a star.
He was like,
almost.
He could almost touch it. Oh, that's
well,
sad.
he was the evil boyfriend in Some Kind of Wonderful to Leah Thompson with Eric Stoltz and Mary Stuart Masterson.
Never saw it.
In River Runs Through It, he had the misfortune of being cast as the brother of Brad Pitt, who went on to become a huge star, obviously.
He always looks like he smells, though.
He absolutely looks like he smells. And in The Program, he played college football player, quarterback Joe Kane.
Dude, are you his biggest fan? You could literally like, and then.
Well, here's the thing. I'm using the internet. Okay? I have these things. I don't like to spill all the beans, but it's happening.
Pulling back the curtain.
You're telling me. David Cronenberg, writer, director, actor. You know him he was in The Fly as the gynecologist that he also wrote and directed. He was
First of all, there was a gynecologist in The Fly.
Absolutely. She gives birth to a giant maggot in that movie. Did you see that?
Dude, put that on the list.
Add it to the list.
Because that's definitely no gynecologist in the 1950s version.
Wrote and directed Dead Ringers, also playing an obstetrician in that.
You know I love Dead Ringers, and now it's a fucking series.
Yep, on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Directed Existenz with Jude Law and others. He directed Crash, No, not that one.
Oh,
The
not
one
that
about-
one?
Not the
I was like,
Academy
oh, I
Award
saw
winner.
Crash.
The one about people who can only reach orgasm when they get into car accidents.
Oh,
So
I
good
saw that
time.
one too.
Oh,
Yeah, that
and of
seems a little
course,
risky.
he did all sorts of stuff. He did The Fly, as we said. He did Scanners.
Yeah.
He did Rabid. He did The Brood. He Shivers. He's
I
done all
think I
sorts of
saw
stuff.
that.
Dynamite. Love David.
Nothing with a penile gland, though.
No, he would have. He is the king of body horror. He would love to do that stuff. And Bobby played Lori Winston, the torch song singing girlfriend. You know
She
her.
was in a ton
from-
of shit, though. I didn't say it was good, but she was in a ton of shit.
She was in BioShock, the video game, in 2007. She was in Beautiful Girls. Do you remember Beautiful Girls with like Timothy Hutton and
I know
Matt
the
Dillon?
song. Beautiful girls.
She was in 11 episodes of the TV series Cop Rock.
Oh
Do you remember
God, do you
Cop
remember
Rock?
that? I don't. I think I watched one episode. I had like a Glee hangover. The 1 year Glee was really good, and before it just started sucking immediately.
It's ridiculous. Charles Hayde played Captain Eigerman. You know him from such things as Altered States.
Yeah,
He directed 7 episodes of ER. He
I
directed
did love
one
ER
episode
back in the day.
of Murder One, if you remember that TV series.
Nah.
What's bizarre is they do not even mention his work on frickin' Hill Street Blues. I gotta scroll all the way
What?
down.
Yeah.
Come
I mean,
on.
that was on what 40 years ago.
That's Hill
But
Street
it was
Blues.
a powerful it was a powerful series. It was the first real good award-winning TV cop drama. It wasn't just cops, it was their lives, it was,
Interesting. He was in from 81 to 87. He was in 144 episodes of Hill Street Blues, playing Officer Andy Ranko.
yeah.
There
He was
you go.
amazing. He was amazing in it. There was I mean, I wonder if it holds up. I should go back and watch those because it was an amazing ensemble production.
Now we've got Doug Bradley, played Dirk Lylesburg, the guy you equated to Moses. Do you know what he's most famous for?
Moses.
He's Pinhead in all the Hellraiser movies.
What the motherfucker? I would have never. So you know what? You know what? Here's the deal. I guess I always thought that Clive Barker would look more like Pinhead. Not Pinhead with the pins, but but before he became Pinhead, I just always assumed that would be what Clive Barker looks like.
Well, now we know. He looks like Eddie Izzard. Let's see.
Clearly, you need to Google Eddie Izzard because you don't even know what the hell he looks like.
I'm going to show you this picture, and you're going to be like, it's Eddie Izzard. Okay, let's go talk about the ratings. We're like 2 hours into this podcast.
A 3-hour tour.
Nightbreed currently has 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. You know what the audiences gave it?
27.
60%. Top critics. There aren't that many, to be honest with you. There's a couple. Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly.
First of all, I love his name.
That's
Owen
a good name.
Gleiberman.
I could read the full review. I'm not going to. Needless to say, he gave it a C+. So there you go. Good times. William Thomas of Empire Magazine says, decent horror thriller, which gets more renowned with age. 3 out of 5.
Okay,
Good
a
times.
3 out of a 5. These people are getting paid for these reviews.
Noel Murray of The Dissolve. At its best, Nightbreed is like a living version of a coffee table book, with each page filled with tentacled, quilled, or moon-faced monsters.
That would be
3.5
better.
out of 5.
What? See, this is bullshit.
3.5 out of 5.
That's too fucking high.
Okay.
These are lies. You know what this is? This is a bunch of like Rob Zombie, people who think Rob Zombie is a genius. And, this is just one step below that.
Okay.
These people are dead to me. They're dead to me.
What is your rating, Aaron?
Do you know how many juggalopes I had in my class this year for Halloween?
What's a juggalope, by the way? Is that like an antelope?
It's kind of like that. Insane Clown Posse.
There's no P at the end. It's just juggalo.
Whatever.
You silly fool. Okay, what is your rating?
I'm going to give it the same rating as the number of juggalos that showed up on Halloween in my classroom. So that would be 1. You're going to get 1 juggalo in your ass out of 5.
In your ass.
Because this is an assault. It is a violation that I had to be subjected to this. It is not offensive enough to inspire any kind of emotion other than the annoyance of the time wasted.
Okay.
It is, I neither love nor do I hate. I am beyond ambivalent. If this movie was on fire and I had a full bladder, I would save my urine for something more worthy.
That doesn't sound like you're ambivalent, to be honest. Doesn't sound like it's not. You gave it 1. 1 is the lowest score, unless you want to go into like decimal points.
No, I've given things zeros.
I guess that's true. I gave it 2 out of 5 encores of Johnny Get Angry, Johnny Get Mad. People love it when I sing that song. It is the worst song. And it's like, I guess they were trying to give her some depth. Is that what it was? Give her a little bit of a backstory that she's like singing songs and doing.
She's a cool chick. She karaoke's every night. She's the star of this little town.
She's the star of the town. No question. I did not hate it. It's not hateful. It's just, this is more of kind of ambivalence that I'm talking about. I've seen it a number of times, not because I was rushing to watch it. There was always some issue that forced me to watch it. It was on, I think I did it once.
There's been a number of issues where you were forced to watch it, like medical emergencies.
Well, it's kind
marriage
of like
counseling.
Absolutely. No question. Right in my journal.
You and Becky need to sit down and watch Nightbreed and share your feelings about it.
We have feelings about it. There's no question about that.
Did you just give me the finger?
No, it's the same thing where it's like, I go, hey, give us your movie suggestions. And we goes, how about Nightbreed? One of my favorites. So I'm like, kind of like, I guess I'm doing Nightbreed. And then last season on Joe Bob, they did Nightbreed on their.
And what did Joe Bob? Joe Bob always says, check it out.
Check it out. I'm sure it was 3 out of 4.
Everything is 3 out of 4. Joe Bob says, check it out.
Check it out. Joe Bob says, check it out. So I don't recommend it, but more because you think it's like grisly, and although it has moments with creatures that are kind of gross, it's just kind of whatever. It's kind of my attitude.
It's no Pinhead. I'll just tell you that. It's nothing even like a distant relative, because there are for sure moments in his other movies where you're like, oh, I'm gonna be dreaming about this shit tonight. Oh,
not for this. Is what you're
not
saying?
So much for this. I just say napalm the shit.
Walk on by.
Foolish pride.
English foolish pride. So thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on
something.
On TikTok. We're on something. Sweet Jesus. Check us out. We're available. You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at
Gmail.
We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Won't you?
We are also. Won't you please? We're also on YouTube. So you can watch us, or you can listen to us, or you can do both if you have all of your senses. So good times. And look for our WTF videos twice a week on, frankly, everywhere. We post them on Facebook. We post them on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter.
Don't get left behind, kids.
Don't get left behind.
Be part of the movement. Be part of the movement.
Join the Nightbreed.
Join the Nightbreed, just like the January 6th. Join.
Oh, here it comes. Aaron, are you on social media?
I am on the media, not quite as much as I should be, but I am on the Instagram. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I am Don't Feed the Pigeon. I'm the administrator of our Ticker Talker, although Kevin provides all the content at this point. I have some artsy fartsy things going on. I am on Artsy, not that artsy fartsy. Don't Google artsy fartsy. I'm on Artsy and First Dibs. Buy some Polaroid classics, won't you?
Dynamite.
Indeed.
Next week, Aaron has been dying to do this movie for
my
years.
God.
And we searched high and low, and it was not available for streaming on anything. It was kind of like The Thing with Two Heads for the longest time, where it's like you couldn't find it anywhere.
It's like Willow, where I had to buy like a bootleg copy sometime in the 90s because of the angerness that was going on between the producer and the director. It was unavailable.
So we finally managed to track this down. Let me throw it out to you. You've got Catherine Ross. You've got Sam Elliott. You got Roger Daltrey. Is there anybody else I'm forgetting in this one?
Oh, isn't Planet of the Apes in it?
Ryan
is that the Legend of Hell House? I think
that's the Legend of Hell House.
Okay,
that's a different movie.
We haven't done that one either.
Add it to the list.
Ghost rape in that one. Trigger warning.
Absolutely. The movie is called The Legacy, and you can find it only on YouTube, unless you happen to own your own copy. So just the way Jesus intended, that's how we will watch it. So
I was going to tell you about how I first saw it, but I'm going to save that because that is truly a pearl and a gem of a story.
This is a tease to get you to come back next week. So join us. Send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. Good times. So thank you very much, and be well.
I say good day.